up, you guys? I want to talk to you real quick about some of the negative comments that you might have noticed on YouTube videos that are talking about FedEx routes. Unlike other people, I don't go through my YouTube videos and delete every single negative comment that I can find. I leave them. And the reason why I leave them is because I don't think that these people are trolls. They're not just saying negative stuff because mommy beat them too much. They're saying negative stuff because that was their experience. And instead of hiding that or deleting those comments or ignoring it altogether, there's actually a lot of really valuable pieces of information that we can take from that that's going to help you be able to find the right business for yourself, whether it's routes or anything else for that matter. And secondarily, get you to have the confidence to move forward. And so looking at these comments is actually really valuable. Now, one of the things that might seem weird is that even though I love routes, you'll see me in the comments basically agreeing with half of the people. When people are like, oh man, it's so difficult to find drivers, it's such a pain in the ass. I'm like, yeah, it is. What, are you going to get a Subway? Is it easy to find people there? Is it easy to find people in a tech company? No, it's not easy anywhere. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean we should avoid it. But acknowledging that difficulty tells us, hey, it's not effortless. It's not absentee. It's not drink margaritas all day and cash checks. No, and whenever we can find out the true reality of what it's like to own these businesses, these are the things that help us say, hey, are these problems that I want to solve? Because there is no business out there where it's effortless to hire people. There is no business where everything works smoothly all the time and it's infinitely scalable and it's in a growing industry and the profits are easy. That business doesn't exist. So if that's what you're looking for, there's probably other YouTube videos that will tell you that that business exists, and maybe you should go watch those. Just kidding, stay and watch this video. But the point is that whenever you can understand what those problems are, you can say, hey, yeah, it's going to be problematic to be able to find drivers. I'm okay with that. The second thing that you should be taking away from these comments is that not everyone is succeeding. Now, the question is, why? Is it their fault? Or is it FedEx's fault? Or is it the economy in general? And so there's a lot of things that can create that failure. There's no business where everyone is succeeding all of the time. That's okay. We're not looking for that. We're looking for situations to where we can find problems and we feel confident that we can be able to solve them. So for example, if it's a high turnover business, whether it's a Dunkin' Donuts, a FedEx route, a Subway franchise, doesn't matter. We have to say, are we okay with dealing with a lot of turnover? If the answer is yes, great, then you can start to move forward. If the answer is no, then you need a business that does not have a whole lot of employees. And so that means you're probably not going to be able to scale to a huge degree because a lot of businesses need employees to be able to scale. We see very few billion, trillion-dollar companies that have 0 employees and it's just the owner operator. That doesn't really happen so much. So a lot of times whenever you scale, you need employees. So you have to think, well, do I want to scale? If so, can I handle these employees? If you can't, you got a little bit of a problem here. You're trying to find a unicorn that may not actually exist. So when someone hates this business because they thought it was going to be much more passive, there was supposed to be a manager in place, everyone was supposed to transfer over, and hey, that's what the broker said. He said it was going to be easy, and then it's not. That business turns into a nightmare, and then they go and they make a comment. Is that person wrong? No, they're not wrong. Should that person be silenced? Absolutely not. But when we see those comments and we say, hey, that's a real issue, am I going to be okay with that? If yes, then we move forward. The second thing here is that sometimes routes fail even whenever it's not the owner's fault. These people also have very legitimate concerns and complaints because even though that they worked hard and they were fine dealing with the turnover in this example, things still go off the rails. FedEx still changes the contract. And this is a really, really important idea because a lot of people think that all FedEx routes are pretty much the same. And I see people also talking about trying to get any route that they possibly can. When they do, some of the routes are junk. Some of them are very difficult to manage correctly. Some of them are very risky, and some of them are not. Some of them are cash cows. Some of them have upside potential. Some of them have downside potential. And when you can see these things, you can start to pick the right route for you. But the point is like, it's like wanting to become a landlord and then saying, well, I want to be a landlord and get rich in real estate. Let me go onto the MLS. I'll look at the first house. This one's in my backyard. It's right for me. I'll buy it. And they go to the realtor who says, hey, now's a great time to buy. Yes, this house. Oh, you're going to love it. Oh, it's going to be so wonderful. You're going to get rich in real estate. And then they buy it. And then the tenants tear it up. They don't make any cash flow. And they say, well, real estate's terrible. No, real estate's not bad. Picking the first house that you saw was a bad idea. Sometimes people do this with routes because they think that they're all the same. They're not all the same, just like all houses in terms of investments are not the same either. And so you can see that sometimes it's not even the fault of the owner. They're doing every single thing that they can. They've just got a terrible contract and terrible territory or whatever it might be that makes things really, really difficult. For example, sometimes things can change too. So some of the contractors, for example, in Colorado, whenever weed was legalized, all these FedEx contractors couldn't keep any drivers because they're failing all their drug tests. So the route that was good a year ago is now like a nightmare to operate because all the drivers are like stoned and failing half their drug tests and whatnot because Colorado decided to make weed legal, but FedEx would not allow the drivers to fail a drug test and still remain employed. So it was a little bit of a problem. So the point is sometimes it's the fault of the owner, sometimes it's not the fault of the owner, and sometimes you get into situations like with the economy, COVID, and so on and so forth, that starts to shift things so dramatically that it's really neither FedEx's fault nor the owner's fault. It's just the way things fell. And all of these risks are very, very real. They just have to be addressed because there are risks in all of these types of businesses, whether it's FedEx routes, bread routes, the Subway franchise, doesn't matter what it is, there's risks. We're not trying to find businesses that have no risk. We're trying to find businesses that have the risk that we're willing to accept and trying to mitigate that risk via operating it correctly and so on and so forth. And so a lot of times whenever we see these people fail, we have to realize that there are failures in all businesses. Sometimes it's their fault, sometimes not. We have to accept that. So the next time you see negative comments about a business you're thinking about buying, don't let that detract you. We should acknowledge that and listen to that and let that help us actually decide whether it's the right business for us or the wrong business. But we're not going to let negative comments keep us away. It's just going to actually open our eyes to some of the truth that there are negatives and positives with just about every single business that's out there. And this idea and this point is really driven home in one of my other videos where I talk about getting free routes from FedEx and why a lot of times you don't want FedEx routes for free and getting those routes for free. So check out this video here, and that's going to talk about that really well. But as always, like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.